Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Khoirotusyarifah. Today's presentation is about the German ideology, Marx and Engels. The politics of art and class consciousness. Marx tried to describe the political economy in which he analyzed a series of capitalist economic activities that form the basis for the formation of class theory. To find out more, we will start from the topic of our discussion. We start from the material production. The production of ideas of conception of consciousness is at first directly interwoven with the material activity and the material intercourse of man, the language of real life. Conceiving, thinking, the mental intercourse of man appears at this stage as the direct effect of their material behavior. The same applies to mental production as expressed in the language of the politics, laws, morality, religion, metaphysics of a people. So, material production in the Marxist perspective, our lives are determined by our activities as humans. How humans survive human life not by abstract things like law, for example. In the Marxist perspective, we survive because we can cover real needs as human beings. Real man is real human who has awareness like eating. Then after that, humans think about how to protect themselves. The language of real life here, the language of real life for humans is not abstract thing. The language of real human is material activities and human-material relation. Is consciousness. Consciousness can never be anything else than existence, and the existence of man is their actual life process. In direct contrast to German philosophy, which describes from heaven to earth, here we ascend from earth to heaven. So this philosophy or theory of Marx criticized the German philosophy of idealism, especially from Engels. In this case, the real man departs from earth to heaven. Consciousness is just produced by human. Consciousness belongs to living humans. All mental forms of production are produced by human consciousness. So, life is not determined by consciousness, but consciousness by life. Material production relate to human consciousness. The mode of production in material life determine the social, political, and intellectual life process in general. It is not the consciousness of man that determines their being, but on the contrary, their social being that determines their consciousness. All product of mental consciousness as a form of mental production, referred by Marx as a superstructure, include political, religious, aesthetic, philosophical insert, ideological form, laws, and etc. And infrastructure is socio-economic life, the life of economic activity, and things like this that can determine mental production. Then begins an epoch of social revolution with the change of the economic foundation. The entire immense superstructure is more or less rapidly transformed. In considering such transformation, a distinction should always be made between the material transformation of the economic condition of production, which can be determined with the precision of natural science, and the legal, political, religious, aesthetic, or philosophic insert ideological forms in which men become conscious of this conflict and fight it out. The concept of art as the product of human consciousness. Art, an expression of consciousness, is thus also determined by social being and is therefore usually characterized by struggle in which the class differences and conflicts within society are fought out. Their work comes in the wake of Romanticism's growing interest in the function of the poet in society. With the growth of positivistic, scientifically oriented philosophies and disciplines in anthropology, sociology, and psychology, interest increased in literature as historical or sociological document. In this context, Marxist writers have frequently placed very heavy emphasis upon Marxism as a form of scientific analysis. But it is particularly clear today that much of its vitality as a continuing tradition of analysis depends on its attention to ethical and practical issues of social justice, fusing moral, philosophical, and political questions in a continuing dialectical debate. And the next topic is about the concept of art as the product of human consciousness. Marxist art criticism is a critique that tries to relate literary work to social class and class consciousness, so that art becomes politic, the political form of art by upper class people. The interests of the capitalist class lie in increasing profits, while the interests of the proletarian narrowly include wage increases, while broadly include control over the wider production process. The influence of ideology is closely related to class consciousness, because the influence of ideology can result in a lack of full awareness of its own class interests, in addition to causing a complete lack of awareness of his class interests. Acceptance of the ideology developed in favor of the dominant class. Ideology is understood as a movement of public awareness to foster a good way of socializing. How the emergence of value, laws, and philosophies that are able to change society. Literature as a primary element in civilization in England, in particular, to change society. Art and society. Many of the ancient nations belong to the latter class. The Greeks were normal children. The charm their art has for us doesn't conflict with the primitive character of the social order from which it has sprung. It is neither a product of the latter, and is neither due to the fact that an Arab social condition under which the art arose and under which alone it could appear could never return. Artworks are not directly influenced by socio-economic life, such as the work of Greece, whose society is backward, but has high artistic value, so that the mental production of art is not always determined by socio-economic life. How can we determine that some art are part of bourgeois society? We can see this in our life. Could you imagine where the product of law, philosophy, ethics, and other complicated things come from? This is a bourgeois art product. Bourgeois people have complicated thoughts. They don't think about the stomach again, therefore they think about abstract things. They think about many things related to philosophy, law, morality, politics, ethics, and etc. Therefore, the art of the bourgeois is complicated. Could it be that with the existence of philosophy, law, morality, today is one part of the bourgeois art? And indeed, in fact, when talking about philosophy, law is very complicated, and we can determine that philosophy, law, morality, politics, ethics, and etc. is bourgeois art product. The bourgeois relation of production are the less antagonistic form of the social process of production antagonistic, not in the sense of individual antagonism, but of one arising from the social condition of life of the individuals. At the same time, the productive force developing in the womb of bourgeois society create the material conditions for the solution of that antagonism. The social formation constitute, therefore, the closing chapter of the prehistoric stage of human society. Okay, maybe that's all for today. Thank you for your attention and thank you for watching my video. We will continue our discussion on WhatsApp group class. See you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.